guys, we are here at Jones Point Park in Alexandria. It's a really awesome park, and this is a place that I like to come and ride my bicycle and jog. And I thought I might do a series of cycling related ride reports so you guys can see what the area is around, and maybe some of these trails might be right for you. Today we are going to be riding the Mount Vernon Trail, where we're going to be heading north from Alexandria to Washington, D.C. and back. It's a really fantastic trail that goes along the Potomac. That's my car. It goes around the Potomac, and it's a really nice, today's Sunday, but it's a really nice trail. It's beautiful. There's lots of people around, which is kind of a little bit more difficult because of the, you know, if you want to go around people and stuff, there's always obstacles, but it makes it exciting. So I wanted to show you what this area is all about. Washington, D.C., we're going to be starting in Alexandria, going through Old Town Alexandria north. So let's get started. Alright, first thing is getting our shoes in. I'm using Clipless pedals. I really like using these, and I really recommend people to use these. You transfer way more energy to the ground using a hard sole clipless pedal. Let's get started. Now, one of the things that you're going to find is that there's only one water fountain available in the entire area that I know of on a trail, and it's under this bridge. It's the only one open, so fill up here. It's a shame they don't have the water fountains open. Normally they would be open, but because of the coronavirus they only have that one open. The bathroom there is also open. When you're riding on the weekend, you can see it's beautiful out this trail. The bridge is really awesome, but there's tons of people around, and because of the coronavirus, there's even way more people. So as you're going towards Alexandria, you just have to follow the trail, and you come across these really expensive houses to the right. They're millions of dollars. And the trail ends right up here. But don't worry, just follow the street, and you're going to basically follow the street straight, and it's going to drop you back onto the trail. And so far so good. This is a coronavirus special here. They closed this street, which is King Street. Normally cars can go through here, but you can see all the restaurants have put up little stalls on the outside for people to dine out. And this is the only way you can really dine anymore in a restaurant. And this is in July 2020, so you can see there's lots of people out, but they're keeping a distance from each other. They can't really eat with masks on, so of course they're not wearing masks. There's quite a few people wearing masks around here. Now, I could have gone straight. I didn't have to go up King Street, but I wanted to go up King Street just to look at what people were doing. Now I'm going back down to where we were going to get started. It's nice that they put up bike signs all over the roads, because it makes it a lot more friendly for cyclists. So there are bike lanes on the main road here, but it's a very bumpy road. I do wish they would fix up the roads. You're going to run into some train tracks, and as you pass the train tracks, you're going to make this right, and that's where you're going to be following the Mount Vernon Trail. Just keep in mind, for people walking around here, that's the clue where the trail is. So this is the trail. It's a cool look. There's people doing yoga in this old train track that nobody uses anymore. Now right here is confusing. Don't go straight, cross the train track, and then follow the trail here. A lot of people go straight, and there is a way to link up with the Mount Vernon Trail again, but that part is a little confusing. So once you cross that train track, just go straight again, and you'll see that the trail just goes. And it goes through the Potomac, through some apartment complexes, usually say left or passing as you're riding by. Normally, if there's going to be this amount of people out, they know that there's going to be people passing all the time. So oftentimes, I try to only say passing when somebody looks like they don't know I'm behind. The trail here is really beautiful, and a lot of people nowadays are just getting way way more exercise than they used to. We're going to make a quick detour here in the Washington Marina. The Washington Marina is a really awesome place. You can actually, there's plenty of green spaces, so you can like have a barbecue or a picnic, and a lot of people are having that these days. Normally this restaurant would be packed, but of course it's been shut down. And if you were to come here pre-corona, you would see airplanes flying above you, a lot of helicopters. That's something that happens a lot in DC, is that there are airplanes flying into DC every like 2 minutes. So there's only a few hills, and this is one of them. This trail is relatively flat, but the overpasses, of course, there are some kind of steeper hills. And as you go down this particular section right here, I've seen many accidents because people want to pass the cyclists like right over here. And what ends up doing is that there's other cyclists coming from the opposite way, and I've seen people collide there, and I've seen people with broken arms and things like that. This is the other hill, so I usually like to pass people going uphill because they slow down a lot for hills. And downhill, I find it very difficult to pass people because the more you weigh, the faster you go, and a lot of people tend to have a little bit more weight than I do. This is an interesting place to come in a car, because if you were to come here pre-corona, you would see airplanes flying in every like minute or so. But as you can see, the skies are completely clear of airplanes, which is a phenomena that's new for the corona world. Right here, you're going to have to make this left to cross into DC. You can go straight. That trail going straight would take you to Roslyn, Virginia, and Georgetown, but we're going to go into 14th Street. This is the 14th Street Bridge. And as soon as we cross over, we are in DC. And when we are in DC, there are all the memorials. So this is the Jefferson Memorial. And this is the Cherry Tidal Basin. And this year, of course, it was canceled, I believe, because of the coronavirus. It's really beautiful here, and pre-corona you would come here and there'll be like a mass of people, which is kind of cool. And I do like hanging out with, like, there's a lot of people, but on a Sunday like this it would be packed full of tourists going to the museums, and of course now nothing. So you kind of have the streets for yourself. There's not a lot of people on the streets. Look around the roads, there's nothing. To the right here is the Bureau of Engraving, where they make and print money. There's the National Monument. You can actually ride up to it. At one point they did have it closed, but now you can just ride up to it. It is closed. You can't go up to the top anymore. And even when you could, you would have to make an appointment. And the only way to make an appointment to go up to the National Monument is to come there at like 5 or 6 in the morning and show up in person to get tickets. So, and they only give a certain amount of tickets per day. But it's a kind of interesting symbol. And the National Mall is very interesting because it's where all the museums are, the Smithsonian, and in the middle they usually have exhibits as well. Sometimes they bring in like houses that are conceptual, and they'll do an exhibit of interesting ways of building houses. They have like concerts in the middle. And nowadays, of course, there's nothing, but it's very eerie to see this. I like riding around DC when it's completely empty. That's the Hirshorn Museum, which is pretty nice. And up ahead is the National Air and Space Museum. And once again, it's undergoing renovations. It seems every year it goes through renovations. And here's the Capitol. This is where they make the laws in the United States. And of course, there are no protests, but there are generally, this is the area where people come to protest. I've come here quite a bit over the years, and it's really interesting to see the passion that people have in protest. So now this is the National Gallery to the right, and we're just doing a loop. So we came the opposite way, and now we're at a park. And there's groups of cyclists that come here just for the exercise, because you can ride in a little peninsula around this park, and in the middle is a golf course. So it's kind of funny that they have a golf course in Washington, D.C., because you would think that D.C. is so small that you can't fit the golf course. But they do have a golf course there. And there's Haines Point. Interesting thing about Haines Point is that they used to have a sculpture called The Awakening. And it was really popular here. But they recently moved it to the National Harbor. And it's a very popular sculpture. So now at this point we're going to join back up with the 14th Street, and we just did a loop of the tidal basin, and now we're going to be climbing onto 14th Street Bridge, and of course clouds do not look good. That's usually a thunderstorm, and I can feel it in the air. It's getting way cooler, and when you feel the coolness, that means it's going to rain. This guy's got the worst technique of riding. We're going uphill, but he just kind of made me laugh. And as I passed, he kind of said something like, how could I climb so easily? But, you know, a lot of it is just technique and staying in the saddle and just kind of pushing through. But it was nice seeing everybody out riding. And cycling and motorcycling is a great social distancing activity that I've always done. So my life has not changed at all. Here we are back in Old Town Alexandria. It's kind of a cute little area, but restaurants here are very expensive, and the only thing I can really afford is the franchise stuff, like Subways, Chipotles. So we're back in the trail. It's starting to rain. I'm dashing back to the truck, and I am going to go underneath this bridge and take refuge. Thanks for coming along on the ride, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a great ride. Go out and do some cycling.